It is mid-September, folks. Can you believe it already? It feels like it's just flown in this year. So if you watched our videos last year, the year before, you'll know there are set jobs I do at different times of the year. We're going to do that today then. And if you watch the video from last year, you'll see very much it's about getting in here tidy and cleared out a bit so that I've got room to do other things and prepare. It's kind of twofold because one of the jobs I do is to prepare the tomato plants for autumn coming, so it ties in with the cleaning. So what I normally do for you guys then is I either run a little GoPro on a time lapse, or I just shoot bits and bobs of what I'm doing and put them together in a little clip for you. The reason being I just can't work when there's a big camera and tripod in here. It literally takes up a third of the greenhouse. But also it means I can put something together that shows you work's been done in the passing of time, but it kind of doesn't get in the way, and it's also short and snappy because you don't want to be here for the next hour while I'm tidying up. So with the magic of video, okay, so it may not seem like much to you guys, but for me, keeping my greenhouse neat and tidy makes such a difference. I don't have a whole heap of space in here, so I have to change up where everything is, how I store things, what areas I'm using, depending on the season. And that's actually a gradual thing from now until when it gets cold. So I need to be able to get my hands on stuff as I need it, because this year I'm actually going to be growing some little bits and bobs in here over autumn and maybe even winter. So to do that, I need to be able to get to all the kit I need. Right, but anyways, that's long-term future for those of you who are interested. What we're going to do just now is talk about the tomato plants. Now, I have been watching loads of videos over the last couple of weeks of people taking all the tomatoes off their tomato plants and cutting them down because they're worried that they're just not going to ripen. Now, the thing is, I think I did it about this time last year too, but this year it is much, much warmer and brighter than it was last year. Even on overcast days like today, it's still really, really warm. So I actually think we've still got another few weeks at least of having tomatoes going and getting them to ripen, because trust me on this one, the tomato that ripens on the live plant tastes so much better than any tomato you try to force to ripen. Just trust me on it. So keep your plants going as long as you can and try to get things to ripen on the plant. And the key to that is actually temperature. When I first started growing, I thought it was all about the sun and they needed the sun to ripen. And obviously the plants need the sun, but it's actually the temperature that ripens them. So you want to keep your greenhouse 20 and above if you can. Okay, so that's the plan. But what I'm going to do to help is I'm now going to cut away pretty much most of the foliage, if not all of it, so that the plant just focuses on the fruit. And I'm going to take away any new flowers that are forming because I don't want them trying to grow new fruit at this time of year. That's not going to ripen. I'm just going to focus on the fruit that's on the plants. And if there's any really small tiny ones, I'll just take them off because there's not much point in them. And hopefully then that'll help everything be awesome and red and ripe and lovely as long as possible. Well, getting that for as long as we can. Right, so where do we even start, I think is the thing. Let's go. Big bucket and secateurs. For all you new guys to growing, if you haven't done this type of thing before, it's going to be freaky and it is just going to seem really severe, okay? But it's one of those jobs you have to do. So, sucker, okay, coming off. Now this look at this. So I suspect I'll get these to ripen. So I'll leave them. And I'm going to cut everything away now. What it does, I mentioned it's going to let the plant focus on that fruit, but it's also obviously going to let any sunlight in, because as I've said before, although the sun itself doesn't ripen them, the sun on the fruit is actually warmth on the fruit, so it will help. I can't see, so let's see. Right, so that's one branch. Do you see what I mean about it feels really severe? And we're just going to keep going. Now, my top tip, take your time, do a little bit at a time, because trust me, you will accidentally cut a branch that has loads of perfect tomatoes on it. It's going to happen, okay? So don't freak, but if you take your time, even if you just take a bit of a branch at a time, if you're not sure, you'll have less of these little accidents. And once you start doing this, obviously then, it's going to get easier to see because you're clearing away foliage. Oh,
present for you.
Oh,
When I'm cutting them down. There you go.
Thank you. How cool is this? Kate's out tidying in the garden and deadheading, and the sunflowers are kind of past. So the last wee ones I get for the greenhouse. I don't know, where will I put them because they're tall? Oh, okay, back to work. Remember I said it would be really scary and it would be really severe? You've got to be brave. Okay, so now do you see why I warned you that it was quite severe? But don't freak, right? Okay, how do I phrase this? The majority of people who watch the videos in this channel aren't actually subscribers, okay? So all of the guys that have watched my other videos from when I sowed these and brought them on, pricked them out, potted on, all of that stuff, they're laughing just now because they know what I'm about to say. But for all the new guys that have just come into this video and are now like, whoa! Let me reassure you, when you do this, you almost certainly will have an awful lot more tomatoes than me, because these have actually been producing ripe tomatoes since early May. Okay, I sowed all my tomatoes on a heat mat under grow lamps indoors in January. I have heating in my greenhouse that I can use late March onwards once these plants were proper sized plants and I could get them planted out and in here. So these are actually way further on than a lot of people's plants, so don't worry. That is why I've had almost all of my crop already and now they're looking incredibly bare. So yours will have a lot more tomatoes, trust me, okay? But it's a really good thing to see because now you can see where the tomatoes are, the sun can get to them, the heat can get to them. The plant is not trying to do a million things, so it can focus its energy on ripening those tomatoes, the important thing. And also, look how much more light there is in here now, which helps for the next thing I want to talk about. Now, I've already filmed a little piece of this the other day. In fact, here's a cool little thing. I filmed the little piece I'm about to show you last Sunday while you were watching the last video. So in that video, you saw me sowing seeds out in the raised beds. So let me go and show you how they're doing now, because they sprouted within 4 days. Then the next bit will make sense. Two hands. I need 2 hands. Whew. Oh, I'm actually knackered. I could really go a cup of tea. Should I chance it? If I ask, will she kill me? What's the chances of a cup of tea? It's only because the camera's on. Normally I'd get abuse. Right, so don't freak out, but I can now see, look at this, okay? So I'm going to have a few more sun gold, which is awesome because they have been my favourite this year. Not so much in the way of the Gardener's Delight, it's a bit disappointing. Roma, the plum, there's quite a few on that one, but that was a bush plant, so there were a lot of fruit on it. That one's the most severe, I think, because it was such a bushy plant to start with, and now it's just a couple of sticks with some tomatoes on them. But the contrast you can see is how green the peppers are and how many ripe red peppers there are. Now, I've already talked about doing exactly this with the peppers because they take a lot longer to ripen, so I have already gone through and reduced the fruit and cut some foliage off and all that kind of thing. I'll put the video up in the top left as a link, and I'll put it in the description as well if you want to see that, okay? As well as the playlist for all the stuff about growing the tomatoes, peppers and everything for those who want to see it. I've already done that, and this is the outcome. You can see how many ripe fruits I've got now, okay? It won't keep going forever. We've probably only got a few weeks of this going, but it was just to show you the difference, different plants. These got done earlier because they take longer to do anything. It's now the time of the tomatoes, okay? Check this out.
1 cup of tea for my lady.
1 cuppa? What is it? It's Earl Grey hot.
Earl Grey hot.
Last time I did this in here, the video last year, that was the joke I made because Picard was on. And
freshly picked berries from the garden.
Berries from the garden as well. Blackberries and blueberries. She's a fab wife, really. I think I'll keep her. Okay. I actually changed my mind there. As I said to you, this has already been done. The peppers had already been done, but as I looked, I realised there was an awful lot of new foliage and an awful lot of new flowers. So I'm taking all those flowers off. They will not produce fruit. Peppers take so much longer and they need hotter temperatures. So it's just not going to work. So all of that's coming off. All the new flowers. So that the plant, so the plant will focus on ripening the fruit that's there. So remember I said sometimes you accidentally cut off a tomato or a pepper. It happens. All of us do it. Now I'm not going to cut everything off because I'm still getting very bright sunny days and sun scald has been a real problem for me. So I still want to give this plant some foliage, but I'm just taking off some of it. I'm just taking off bits and pieces here that are damaged, look a bit sad, and like I say, any flowers that are going to try and be new peppers are coming off. It's not such a big deal for that plant. Okay, we have a huge bucket of stuff we've cut off, but as I always say, garden waste is only waste if you don't make use of it. That is going in my compost bin and that will then feed everything next year. It's going to be the compost that I plant everything in here, the compost I put out in the beds on the garden. It's the business. So last week's video was me sowing some seeds in the garden, okay? So last weekend was the weekend of the 4th, 5th, I think, of September. Today is Saturday the 11th of September, but I sowed some broccoli rab and some pak choy and stuff in the garden. So I've shown you that that has sprouted, okay? So 4 days it took and it was up. But the following day, the Sunday, while you were watching last week's video, I was in here sowing the same seeds in here. So the seed trays then. So I have got heaps of these module trays, okay? Heavy duty ones. I'll show you these. Where are they? So I've got heaps of these really heavy duty module trays. These, some of you will recognise, these are the Charles Dowding 60 cell. I've got a few of these. I have to be honest, I'm not really a fan of these. They just, don't know, the plants just don't seem to germinate the same way in these. Going to have to keep trying, but so far I'm not sure. But I've also got the same idea with the root trays, and various other size module trays. You get these from a company called Containerwise, but they are crazy busy, so they don't always have them in stock. You need to be patient, to the point where they said to me, don't do a video on them until next season. So that's why I haven't spoken about them properly. There will be a proper video about them though, don't worry. But what I'm going to be doing is starting to get some stuff sewn in here over autumn, maybe even winter. And I'm going to be using all these seed trays, but they don't quite fit my greenhouse, because that's the other thing. My greenhouse is all set to suit me and what I'm doing in the different seasons, which means things get moved around. Now, as you can see, all the surface space in here at the moment is used, and I've got these shelves that I can now use because these plants are passing, cut back, there's more light space, etc. But these trays don't fit up here. So last weekend on Sunday, in order to get sewing, Kate and I did a little bit of DIY to make them a bit smaller so that they fit. So I'm going to drink my tea and I'll leave you with that clip from last week. Oh yeah, it was beautiful and sunny then. Hello folks. So I'm going to be doing a bit of planting up for the greenhouse today. And it made me think, because you guys have seen, if you saw it on Instagram, that I got a bundle of these hard shell module trays. And they're awesome, they're going to last forever, but they don't necessarily fit my greenhouse and sizing and stuff. Let me show you what I mean. So if things are on the staging, the benches, I use these trays, which are awesome, which means I can put seed modules in there and I can water, and I don't have to worry about the water dripping through onto the floor, onto other things. If they're on the shelves up above, I use these because the shelves are much smaller, so you can see. Now the problem being, none of these fit. So it's a bit of a pain. I'm going to move all this out the way. And Kate came up with an awesome idea. I do refer to Kate as my creative director and all things to do with YouTube, because she always comes up with the best ideas. And she says, well, they're really, really sturdy. Why don't you just cut them to size? It sounds really obvious, but yeah. This is going to get loud, so I'll put some music over or something. Okay, so I managed one. I'm covered in plastic, so it worked. It's not pretty, but it's done the job. It's now made that really usable. However, Dremel's not the best way to do it. The blade's too short and it took forever. So I'm going to try it with a jigsaw and electric saw. Okay, in the space of about an hour, I've managed to do two. Dremel doesn't work. The blade's far too small, but it makes a nice, neat job. It just takes ages. I tried an electric jigsaw, but again, for what you need, it's far too small and fiddly. So Kate just appeared with a tenon saw, and it did it in about 10 seconds. So, why do I bother doing this? I should just get her to come and do videos for you guys. Right, this one. Same again.
Right down the middle.
Do you know what I'm going to do as well?
You said that you're back to camera.
Camera 2. The only problem being everything's going to wobble. If that footage is a wee bit shaky, that's why. Perfect. Awesome, so that's given me two this size that I can now use. Right, I'm going to get planting now. So there we go, thanks to Kate, I've now got two of each of those sizes that fit in my little trays that can go on the greenhouse shelves. Now I can get planting up. Again, it's something that's going to grow in here into these nice little plants, so I'm starting off in a bigger module. Technically you could do all this with the small modules and plant them on and bring them up, but these are all things that are going to grow fast, so I'm just going to plant it in to the module it's going to grow in. So what I'm doing today then is I'm doing more of the Brocchetto Corentino Riccio, which are the little broccoli rab type seeds that I talked about. So I'm going to have these going in the greenhouse as well. So all I'm doing is I'm just putting a couple in each module. Kind of trying to guarantee I get some that have germinated. And then I'll just pull the weaker one out, the same as I do with everything I'm sowing and growing. And very carefully, back in the packet. There we go. Label. Always remember to label. Do not ever forget. Labels are so important. I mentioned before, one of the reasons I use these trays is it just makes life easier for watering. Because I can then water when it's up on the shelves in the greenhouse and it doesn't go everywhere. Or I can fill these trays with water to water from below. And this is so sad, but this watering can, this was a present from my birthday. Kate bought me this. It is so amazing. Best watering can ever. So there you go. If I get this down for you, that is those very seeds. As you can see, this is the broccoletti, I always say broccolini. Here it is here, it is all sprouting awesome. Well chuffed. You'll see it's not come on quite as well as the stuff that's in the beds because it was actually not getting a lot of light in here. Now that everything's cut back, I'm feeling really optimistic. Those are really heavy. And the pak choi is doing awesome too. But now you can see why I wanted to make these smaller so they fit in the trays, because they actually go up in these shelves and they're in the trays, which means when I water them, I'm not getting water everywhere, all over the wooden staging, all over all the bits and pieces I store underneath. So now that I've got them cut to size, I can actually use these shelves a lot better and I can be having bits and pieces going in here to get me into autumn. So for all you people that cut out at the end of videos and don't stay to the end, now's the point that you want to cut out, because I'm about to just finish up with what I've been doing, what I've been talking about in a wee job. Okay, so you can go now, all you people can go. And for the guys that always stay to the end, this is for you. So, as you can see behind me, I have got Aquilegia lime sorbet here. These have been going in the greenhouse all year. Because I'm terrified to put them out because I think they'll get killed in winter here. Parker wants in the greenhouse. So I've got lime sorbet Aquilegia. I'm going to keep them in here over winter and put them out in spring, okay? Now, I'm seeing everywhere that people are saying that, you know, they're putting them out. I'm just a bit hesitant because I don't think they'll survive in my garden, because all our gardens are different frost pockets and things. So I'm going to keep them in here over winter, and they're in one of these big trays, and it's in that tray. So these are the ones I showed you last week. On this side, I'll move my sunflowers. This side is actually some astrantia that's self-seeded in that bed, and I dug them out and I've brought them in here in case the ones that self-seeded don't survive winter, and that way I've got some backups. Funnily enough though, the ones in the bed seem to be a lot healthier and doing better than these ones, so maybe that was a mistake. But yeah, not bad. So, like I said then, for you guys then, jobs that you've got this week are, look at your tomato plants. Have you got lots of tomatoes that aren't ripe yet? Think about taking off the foliage so the plant's not trying to do too many jobs. Take away any tomatoes that are too small and not worth the effort. And basically let the air and the light and the heat and everything get in, and hopefully you'll get loads of ripe tomatoes before the season comes to an end. Remember, your season will depend on your garden, okay? So things are different for all of us. Be aware of when your first frosts and all that kind of thing come. For me, I'm only going to have a few weeks left and it's going to get too cold. Same with your peppers, keep an eye, okay? You're not going to get new peppers now if you're here in my climate. So any flowers, take them off. They're not going to be peppers. Any small little peppers, that will not get any bigger, okay? It might ripen if you're lucky, but it's not going to get any bigger. So think about that. What do you want? Take the small ones off if you don't want them. Okay. Again, herbs. You guys know that I have French tarragon and basil in my greenhouse. Neither of those will survive in the greenhouse over winter. Okay, so at some point they're going to go. But the good news is the French tarragon I discovered, if you wrap it up, leave it, stop watering it, cut it all back, okay? So leave the root ball in the pot, cut all the foliage off, leave it, do not water it, let it dry out, don't worry. But you will find that it will actually come back next spring. So bonus, because those things are really hard to get. And your basil, it's just one of those things. I tried taking it indoors last year and it just didn't do well. So I will just grow fresh again next year. So yeah, so what I'm going to have going in here then, and you're going to be seeing it over the next few weeks, I'm going to keep the broccoletti and the pak choi and things like that going in here as we use them. And I'm going to grow lettuces and things as well for us to use, because it's going to get too cold for me now to really get any produce from the garden. So that lot I've sown, I think I'll get that harvest, but I won't get another one. But I'm going to try putting some spring onions in and things as well. Again, hardy winter varieties, which is important. I've just not got around to doing it yet. But for you guys who said you wanted me to go back to the really casual, just me talking about stuff I'm doing videos, I hope this suited, because this has been about 2.5 hours of me waffling that I'm now going to have to edit down to a half hour or less. Maybe I'll do a behind the scenes type video for you guys where you'll get more of the random stuff that goes on. Right, that's me. I'm heading indoors after I feed the compost bin. I hope you have an awesome week. Stay safe, look after each other. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, guys. See ya!